Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We're looking at a live picture from Washington, and there is smoke pouring out of the Pentagon. It would appear that there has been another major explosion, this one in the nation's capital. You are looking at a scene of apparent blast aftermath. There is smoke in the air over the Pentagon. We don't know whether this is the result of a bomb or whether it is yet another aircraft that has targeted a symbol of the United States power, but there is smoke pouring out of the Pentagon. This is coming at 9:43 Eastern Time. The president right now is on his way back from Florida. He had gone there for an educational event. In a brief remarks, he said this was an apparent terrorist attack on our country. We do have a couple of reports, one from AP, one from Reuters, reporting that an American Airlines plane was hijacked, that a United Airlines plane was hijacked, supposedly one of those two planes hijacked out of Boston. At this point, the Pentagon, the White House, the Capitol, and the Treasury have been evacuated in Washington. In New York, all airports, tunnels, and bridges have been closed, and in Chicago, the Sears Tower has been evacuated. We understand now there has been a secondary explosion on Tower 2. With that, we will leave you and turn it over to Dan Rather.
This is CBS News continuing live coverage of the apparent terrorist attacks today here in New York City and in Washington, D.C. It's important to say these things at the very beginning. There is much that is not known about what is happening. The second thing is that the word from almost everybody who's trying to deal with the situation, the word of the day is steady. Steady. Yes, there have been some terrible things happening, but until and unless we know the facts, it's very difficult to draw many conclusions. But there'll be rumors all day, and we're going to try to separate the rumors from the facts. CBS News veteran correspondent Harold Dow is on the telephone now from a section of the city where these twin towers are in flames and smoke. Harold, if you hear us, come in.
I arrived on the scene about an hour and a half ago, and believe it or not, there was another major explosion. The building itself, literally the top of it, came down, sending smoke and debris everywhere. I had to do all I could to run to get away from all the debris. Me and a number of other people here are trapped in the subway here in a shoe store, actually trying to get away from most of the debris. It's just an incredible sight. They had a lot of emergency workers around the building, and of course everybody's hoping that these people were able to get out of there without being injured. But it is a surreal and devastating scene over here, something like I've never seen before.
Harold, exactly where are you in filing this report?
Dan, I'm at a subway station. I just ran down the stairs. I didn't even look at it. It's right around the corner from the World Trade Center, and I'm kind of waiting for that smoke and debris to blow away to go back upstairs. But it's just an unbelievable situation here.
Well, Harold, if I may, take a deep breath, take a series of deep breaths, and then let me ask you, have you seen any indication that would tend to confirm these reports, which have been growing in intensity, that a section of the World Trade Center has collapsed onto the street below? Do you see any confirmation of that in any direction?
That is true, Dan. That's what we were all running from. We heard the building coming down, and that's what we were running from. Literally, people ran out of their shoes trying to get out of the way of it.
Marine 6 advising a second plane into the World Trade Center. Okay.
I was at my sister Lisa's apartment, helping her get her son Michael ready for school. But Paul was already heading down the east side of New York toward the blazing towers. Two hijacked planes had been slammed deliberately into the Twin Towers. Their fuel load of 10,000 gallons ignited immediately. In the towers, which at that time of day housed about 15,000 people, there must have been complete panic. Many were spilling out into the street.
This is a U.S. airline. It was a plane, commercial plane coming towards us. I said, it's going to hit my building. It's going to hit my building. All of a sudden, it made a left-hand turn and a right, and it hit all of a sudden the whole downtown area just shook. It just literally, I thought it was an earthquake at 1.2, and then you could literally see the whole thing just explode. It was horrible.
Within minutes of arrival, a fifth alarm was transmitted for a major incident in a high-rise building.
10-4 authority, Chief KSC, fifth alarm, west investing.
50 units were arriving on the streets below. On board, the men were thinking this fire would be one hell of a fight. But for many of them, this would be their last alarm. Our communications room was being deluged with calls from desperate people trapped high in the towers.
We're getting reports on the 104th floor, back room, 25 to 30 people trapped. I also have the 103rd floor, 103 with people trapped also. I have the 83rd floor.
When the wind shifted, firefighters could see at least 5 floors completely involved in fire. They knew that for those inside, conditions would be dire. As the jet fuel cascaded from floor to floor, burning everything in its path, it grew in volume, fed by oxygen, sucked through the elevator shafts in the center core. The temperature of 2,000 degrees blasted everything that got in its way. Those who survived the initial impact would be incinerated in seconds. 45 minutes into the incident, 1,000 feet below, 500 firefighters have already arrived. Surrounding them are the remains of passengers from Flight 175. Over 100 firefighters had already been given orders and entered the 2 buildings. On West Street, Assistant Commissioner Steve Gregory had arrived. Directly below the South Tower was Safety Battalion Chief Arthur Lakiotis. They were setting up a command post. Paul Bariff had joined them with his camera. Everything was going as planned. Units were arriving and being sent to work. For some, these would be their final moments. And then it happened.
This morning, and only one of the towers was hit. Yeah, well, and I watched on the news giant jumbo jet crash very intentionally into the.
I knew everything was going to be so kind of. And the Pentagon was. I think I'm just going to say.
So right at 9 o'clock when people are at work.
It's quiet.
Yeah, it was like the first one was at like 10 to 9.
Yeah, the funny was
I walked by. I was walking by. They both hit. Something's coming out. Something's coming out.
See that? Oh my God! The whole building is Yep. Yeah, whole top fell.
I don't know.
God! Oh my God! Look at that explosion!
All eyes looked towards the sky. It was the most surreal scene I have ever seen. I cannot describe what took place. The building literally, just like as if it was in slow motion.
Look at all that explosion going up the whole downtown.
Sending up a humongous cloud filled with debris.
Is that going to come this way?
Started running from Lower Manhattan.
That's good.
So what?
Frankie!
We have a camera.
appears that an aircraft of some sort did hit the side of the Pentagon, the left front, which faces sort of toward Washington National Cemetery. So apparently there are a lot of Army officers that were there. And so I think it's just a huge explosion. You can see a billowing smoke rising. And I'll tell you that I can't see that second tower, but there was a cascade of sparks and fire, and now it looks almost like a mushroom cloud of explosion. This huge.
Oh my God! Something else blew up.
This was the second of the two towers hit, and I cannot see behind that smoke. Obviously, as you can't either. The first tower in front has not changed. And we've seen this extraordinarily and frightening scene behind us.
Oh my God.
The second tower, not just in case.
That's the third. Down it went. The building just fell.
You okay? Yeah.
Please. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Watch out, watch out. I got it.
What I'm saying is true.
Building completely down.
A situation that started bad just gets worse and worse and worse. The World Trade Center.
Was that 2 or 1? Oh, both. Both. You got
Take two. Take 2 and 2, 1. This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the 2 towers. A huge explosion now raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way!
do it, Ken.
Got a guy hurt on the way.
Watch the building to the left, to the back of those two buildings. This is just a few minutes ago. We don't know if something happened, another explosion, or if the building was so weakened it just collapsed. But we have one of our producers on the phone, and I didn't get the name, so why don't we just go ahead? You there?
Yeah, this is Rose R.C. calling from New York.
Rove, tell me what you know.
Just a few minutes ago, we saw there's a portion of the building where the first plane struck that seemed to be buckling inside itself, almost as if the top of the building was going to fall. Shortly after that, two people, it's hard to tell whether they were being pushed or they physically approached themselves the sort of river side of the building, it would be the west side of the building, and appeared to jump from the top floors, just under where you're seeing the smoke and fire.
That is extraordinary. The South Tower, the World Trade Center, has collapsed. Again, tell me, how long ago was it that you saw this?
This must have been about 5 minutes ago, and prior to that, you could see heads popping out of windows right beneath where that big gaping hole is. So there appeared to be people alive right below where the crash point was, and were trying to find some way out of there. And just as the thing started to buckle, you saw them plummeting from that top floor.
Right, and perhaps this is stating the obvious. We apologize for that, but obviously people were already at work here at the Trade Center when this happened.
10:03 a.m. Flight 93 crashes due to fighting in the cockpit, 80 miles southeast of Pittsburgh in Somerset County, Pennsylvania. Later reports indicate that passengers had learned about the World Trade Center and Pentagon crashes on cell phones, and at least 3 passengers were planning on resisting the hijackers. The resistance was confirmed by Flight 93 cockpit voice recording, on which the hijackers are heard making their decision to down the plane before passengers succeed in breaching the cockpit door. The target of Flight 93 is thought to be either the U.S. Capitol building or the White House in Washington, D.C.
through this. Come along with us. I can't guarantee you how much we'll be able to help you cover as soon as we're able to do it. Keep that seat back, try not to breathe it anymore. M20 and M6. Guys, it's not working, guys. Come on. It's not working, guys. We don't know what we're breathing in. No. You were in part. Keep walking. Take it easy. Breathe slow. Breathe normal. Sergeant Churchill on here. Sergeant Churchill on here.
All right now.
Yeah.
I'm just tired. I'm tired. Just don't
I don't have a radio or nothing, so. Hey. The North Tower. The North Tower. Waiting. Oh my God! There it goes!
Incomprehensible mayhem. A lot of people were breaking down and crying.
The fire continues to burn. I can see the flames through the thick smoke.
Yeah.
Now people are gathering in large groups. In fact, in one corner, I saw a group of people actually holding hands and praying. As I stand on the Manhattan Bridge, which is closed, it is open to pedestrian traffic. Some people are walking across, but there's just no way for them to. As I look at it, something is. I can't. It looks like that building is going. Is that the building going down? Is that the second building of the World Trade Center going down?
Yes, that is the second. That is the second tower. That is the second tower.
It's a huge plume of smoke that came out of the middle of the building, and then the building just disappeared in the smoke.
That is the second building that has gone down. It came out like a plume of smoke, like a banana unpeeling. Plumes of smoke coming out, and then absolutely nothing. And now where there were two huge buildings, two huge towers, there is now nothing.
It was pandemonium.
Absolutely unbelievable morning.
People began
screaming.
The building began crumbling, and what we saw on the street was nothing short of what you would see in a nuclear winter.
Clearly, we're in the middle of the worst ever act of terrorism directed at the United States on domestic soil. The Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine is claiming responsibility for today's bombings.
What?
However, Fox News cautions that the Israeli government sources believe Osama bin Laden is in fact responsible.
I'm with the fire marshals. We're doing the fire investigations. We're just trying to get together right now.
It's pretty crazy. All right, thanks.
¡Vámonos! 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 Get out! Some shooting. Double time. They broke it down this time. They broke it down. They broke it down literally.
Was that just the force of the heat crumbling the building, or was that a bomb?
Yeah, I'm okay. That's the second big sprint.
Do you know the people are falling out the other side?
Let's head back to
I'll go closer and then up.
Okay, good.
I'm thinking you're going to have a shot for that statue.
Well, oh my God. Hello?
Mother of God.
Carlo, those people running on the left, on the left, on the left, where the smoke is. I'll help you, I'll help you.
Come on.
Left arm.
Come on.
Okay, right now.
Center, we heard a big bang, and then we saw smoke coming out, and everybody started running out, and we saw the plane on the other side of the building, and there was smoke everywhere, and people are jumping out the windows. Over there, they're jumping out the windows, I guess because they're trying to save themselves. I don't know. And I don't know, everybody just doesn't know where to go. They won't let, everything is blocked off. You can't even, they're telling us to get out, but there's nowhere to go. And then I heard that another plane hit, and if you go over by there, you can see the people jumping out the window. They're jumping out the window right now. Oh my God.
All right, man, thank you.
That is one of the witnesses to these extraordinary events this morning here in New York. Again, and I know that for many of you, you've heard this a lot, but I think it's important as people join us as they do in moments like this. They are coming in all the time, that there have been attacks in 2 American cities, New York and in Washington. The trade centers here in New York have been hit by airplanes. In Washington, there is a large fire at the Pentagon. The Pentagon has been evacuated. And there's, you can see, perhaps the second tower, the front tower, the top portion of which is collapsing. Good Lord. There are no words. You can see large pieces of the building falling. You can see the smoke rising. You can see a portion of the side of the building now just being covered on the right side as I look at it, covered in smoke. This is just a horrific scene and a horrific moment. The president, who is in Florida today, is en route back to the White House. He took off a short time ago. The White House itself has been evacuated on the basis of what the Secret Service says was a credible threat on the mansion itself. We believe now that we can say that portions of both towers of the World Trade Center have collapsed. Whether there were second explosions, that is to say explosions other than the planes hitting them, that caused this to happen, we cannot tell you. Rose Arce, one of our CNN producers, is on the phone. Rose, what do you got?
I'm about a block away, and there were several people that were hanging out the windows right below where the plane crashed, when suddenly you saw the top of the building start to shake, and people began leaping from the windows in the north side of the building. You saw 2 people at first plummet, and then a third one, and then the entire top of the building just blew up, and splinters of debris are falling on the street. Where I'm right now, there's a thick plume of smoke, and you can see crowds of people, including emergency service workers and police officers, running from the scene, screaming, and there's a school nearby where there were kids in the schoolyard. That has been emptied out, and they're running up the street now, too. The whole sort of the neighborhood, I'd say several blocks up, is covered by this almost powdery smoke. Little tiny pieces of building you can see just floating in the wind around it. It's almost as if like a huge cloud had kind of enveloped that part of lower Manhattan.
It is just one of those awful moments that you need to look at for a minute or two to absorb exactly what has happened.
That is one of the witnesses to these extraordinary events this morning here in New York. Again, and I know that for many of you, you've heard this a lot, but I think it's important as people join us as they do in moments like this. They are coming in all the time, that there have been attacks in 2 American cities, New York and in Washington. The trade centers here in New York have been hit by airplanes. In Washington, there is a large fire at the Pentagon. The Pentagon has been evacuated. There are no roofs. You can see large pieces of the building falling. You can see the smoke rising. You can see a portion of the side of the building now just being covered on the right side as I look at it, covered in smoke. This is just a horrific scene and a horrific moment. The president, who is in Florida today, is en route back to the White House. He took off a short time ago. The White House itself has been evacuated on the basis of what the Secret Service says was a credible threat on the mansion itself. We believe now.
I'm in ground zero. I managed to get in. I have the most amazing pictures to take. You've never seen anything like this in your life. There are cars burning all over the place. This is two World Trade Centers on the ground. On the level right here, ground level. I'm gonna try to take some still photos. Trees were rooted, knocked down. It was unbelievable.
Dude, this is worse than Pearl Harbor.
Fire trucks, windows blown out. Buried in debris. Car just blew up. God bless America. I've never seen anything like this, my dear Jesus. This is the World Trade Center on the floor. Words cannot express what I feel, what has been done to this country. Nobody will ever know.
$6 an hour people. What I don't understand is they got past the fences in kindergarten. What kind of technology they have to do that? Either they got the same technology or better.